Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be setting up my 2022 bullet journal, and I just cannot believe that it's that time of year to start a new journal already, but I am so excited. It is one of my favorite things to do, and I just look forward to it every year. I just think it's the perfect way to start out a new year with a brand new fresh journal. I went with another Archer and Olive notebook this year. This is going to be my 4th year using Archer and Olive, and probably my 6th journal from them that I've used, because for the past few years I have used 2 journals instead of 1. And I do have a code you can use for your Archer and Olive orders. Just use the code RAY10 to save 10% off any order. Something new that they've started including in all their journals is this little card that has journal prompts and ideas for trackers, and then on the other side has a ruler that is the exact number of dots and then these pre-measured spaces so that you can easily divide your page up into equal parts. So I love that. I think that's super handy. You could just keep it in the back pocket of your journal and really easily set up different spreads. I always like to include a cover page for my new journals that has the year, so that way in the future when I'm looking at my journals I'll know exactly what I'm looking at. And for this one I kept it pretty simple. I used this craft arch paper that I actually include these in my Christmas ephemera bundles, and I just used my Cricut to cut it out so that it would be a perfect archway, because anytime I try to do that with scissors it always ends up lopsided. But I just wrote on there 2022, and then now at the bottom I'm going to add a little greenery just to kind of tie it in with the paper and make it look more complete. So over the years of bullet journaling, I've definitely found a certain setup that I like to use at the beginning. So if you go back and look at my 2021 setup, you might realize I've kind of followed that same layout. So my next page is going to be my quote page, and I always try to do something that just sets the tone for a new, productive, good year. So for this one I went with the quote, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And I just thought that was the perfect quote for a bullet journal, a planner, and just to really set the stage for a good 2022. I really think this year's finally going to be better. I know we all thought 2021 was going to be just amazing compared to 2020, and it still kind of wasn't the best, but things are definitely getting better, and I just think there's a lot of good coming to us. And I'm using this Archer and Olive calligraph pen in this pink color. This one is from the jewel toned pack, and I'm going to keep using this kind of for the rest of my spreads. I like to keep it pretty neutral. This is a little more on the pink side, but it's still neutral, and then I like to include it in all of the spreads so that way they just all tie in together, so they don't feel like just a bunch of random spreads at the beginning. Like, you can very clearly tell these are the setup spreads, and then when January starts, that will start its own theme. Now moving on to my year at a glance spread. I'll be honest, this is not one of my most used spreads, but it definitely does come in handy when I'm setting up my months. I can quickly look at this and see where all the days fall, so I don't have to pull out my phone or look at a calendar in a different planner. I can just flip to the front and then set up my monthly spread really quickly. So I'm just adding a little bit of paper to the top of this, and then I'll put my header, and then I will set up all the months, which is probably my least favorite thing to do every year. I always include a year at a glance, and every time I do it, by the time I get to like October, I am so done with writing out all the dates. But I love the way that it looks when it's done. So we're just going to power through it, and we're going to pretend like it only took the little bit of time that it's going to look like in this video when I sped it up like 10 times and not how long it took me in real life. But while I'm setting up the rest of this spread, I just want to take a little bit of time to reflect on my bullet journaling journey, because in December it is going to be 3 years since I started my bullet journal Instagram account, and then back in October was actually my 4th year of bullet journaling. And it is just crazy. Like, I mean, I feel like I just started my Instagram, and when I look back and realize it's been 3 years, I just can't believe it. I mean, I've made so many friends and just met so many amazing, talented artists over there. If you're not on the bullet journal Instagram community, I definitely recommend it. It's such a lovely place to be on the internet. I've never had a bad encounter with anybody. It's been really great. It's been one of my favorite things about bullet journaling, aside from actually journaling, is just everybody that I've met along the way. So I wanted to ask y'all, how long have you been bullet journaling? And especially if this is your first bullet journal that you're setting up, let me know down in the comments, because that is so exciting, and I definitely don't think you're going to regret it. It is just such a fun hobby to have, to get to use all these fun little art supplies and stationery, and then looking back at old journals is just amazing. Like, I can't even explain it. It just makes me so happy just to flip through all my old spreads. Even when it's just like a month later, I'll flip through and I'll be like, look at that. I can't believe I created that. And especially when you use your journal for memory keeping, that's just such a good record to have. I mean, I don't know if I'll really look through this when I'm 80 years old in a nursing home, but how cool would it be if I did? Which brings me to one more question about how y'all use your bullet journals, because how I've used mine has definitely changed in the past 4 years. In the beginning, I definitely followed just the very basic bullet journal, keep track of your task, to-do list, future log, but now it is really mostly a memory keeper for me. I definitely still put to-do lists in there, but I have a separate planner to actually keep up with my day-to-day to-do list, and I just use my journal as a journal, and it's my favorite way to use it right now. But that's not to say that it won't change again as my life changes, and maybe I need to go back to including more task and to-do list. So how do you use yours, and has it changed over time, or have you always used it the same way? So now I'm moving on to my future log, and this is a spread that is so useful to me. You can see I've already made a mistake at the top, but I will come back to that and try to fix it. So I like to do a vertical future log, and I write out all the days, and then I will write in all the holidays, birthdays, big events. So that way when I'm setting up my monthly spreads, I can quickly look and see what's happening that month and write it down. Sometimes I'll put like appointments. If I'd scheduled like way in advance, I'll put it in my future log, and it's just a really easy way to look and see what's happening in a whole month or in the whole year. And I do separate it into 2 different spreads. So I put 6 months on this spread, and I'll do the other 6 months on the next spread. And what I'm doing now is just highlighting all of the weekends. So I just highlight Saturday and Sunday, and that just helps me look at it and actually be able to tell how the days are falling. Because if it's just numbered, 1 through 30, I don't know when the weekends are just looking at that. And now I'm trying my hardest to fix the mistake I made up here. So I went over it with my white jelly roll pen, and then I let it dry and I wrote May. You can still kind of tell that I messed up on it, but it didn't turn out too bad. And I'm going to do the same thing on my next spread, but with the next 6 months. And look at that. I know when the months fall for this one. No mistakes so far. And just going to do all my days again. But I am going to do a different color scheme because I really didn't love the way the other one turned out. So I'm going to do a different color scheme. And then I'm even going to add a few doodles to this one. So now we are on my final spread for my 2022 bullet journal setup. And of course, you have to have a goals spread in a new journal. This is one of my favorite spreads to make and one of my favorite spreads to look back on. It's just very satisfying to look back and see when you're accomplishing goals and to constantly look at them throughout the year to remind you what you're working towards and what you maybe could improve at. So this layout is very similar to what I've done the past few years, but the thing that has changed the most is definitely the category. So the past couple years, I was following the level 10 life goals, and they had 10 categories, and they were health and fitness, physical environment, giving and or contributions, fun and recreation, marriage or relationship, career, finances, spiritual goals, personal development, and family and friends. And I really enjoyed having my goals broken down into different categories, but I found that I wasn't really using all the categories equally. Some of them, I would have one goal that probably could have fit into a different category if I needed to. So I'm using the same idea of breaking them down, but I'm not using all 10 categories, and some of them I've kind of just made my own. So what I went with was personal development, health and fitness, finances, house, because if you don't know, we bought a new house this year and I have such a long to-do list of things I would like to accomplish. So that gets its own category. And then everything to do with Ray's daily page, which is everything to do with my Instagram, YouTube, my shop, my blog, all of that good stuff. And then the last one is work, which is, my real job, my day job. So I just feel like these categories will better suit me for this year. And I just think I can fit all my goals into just these 6 categories instead of the 10 from the others. But if you'd like to see how I did that last year, you can definitely check out that setup and just do like a traditional level 10 life goals page if that's what you would like to do. So that's going to be it for my 2022 bullet journal setup. It's a pretty minimal setup. I've just found over the years that I don't use a lot of the extra spreads, so I just kept it simple with my goals, my future log, year at a glance, a nice little quote page, and then my cover page. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you're not already, I would appreciate if you would subscribe, and I will see y'all in my next video.